Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Now, if you've been wondering what is the best, the most helpful and the most interesting way to learn English grammar, well, you're in the right place, our Words and Rules review course. In today's class, we're going to learn about superlative adjectives. So that's words like newest and smallest and best, most interesting. So let's take a look at an example sentence. Grandpa George is the oldest. Willie is the shortest. Summer is the most intelligent. On the left side of your screen, you'll see a list of adjectives: old, tall, new, easy, and difficult. Now I'm going to show you the superlative form of the adjectives. In this class, I'm going to describe superlative adjectives as est adjectives and most adjectives. What I would like you to do is look at the differences between these two types of adjectives. You've got 10 seconds. Okay, in today's lesson, you will learn the meaning of est and most adjectives. I'm going to teach you how to use these adjectives in a sentence. And we're also going to look at the 4 different forms of est and most adjectives. Okay, let's begin by looking at the meaning. So, what do we use est and most adjectives for? Well, we use them to show the highest level of comparison. Now, if these we use these adjectives to show the highest level of comparison. Now, if these 2 words that are underlined are new words for you, highest and comparison, pause this video, take out your dictionary and research these 2 words. They're very, very important. Comparison comes from the verb to compare, which means to find the differences between 2 or more things, or people or places. So let's take a look at some example sentences. The biggest animal in the world is the blue whale. Tokyo is the biggest city. Russia is the biggest country. Okay, I'd like to show you another example. Now, I have 3 pieces of paper. This one is the smallest of the 3 pieces. And this paper is the biggest or the largest. So we are comparing these 3 different things. We're comparing the size of these 3 things. Okay, so moving on, it's time for our first activity of the lesson. Now, if you're watching this video on E2 School, you can do this activity on your computer. If you're on YouTube, you can't, but there is a solution. You can go to our website and sign up for free. It's a great way to learn and to do these activities on our videos. Okay, let's have a go at activity number 1. In this activity, you need to look at this picture of the Smiths. And you have 2 questions to answer. Who is the tallest? And who is their oldest? Write their names in the boxes on the screen. You have 20 seconds. Okay, time is up. Let's take a look at the answers. So we can see that Sylvia is the tallest and George is the oldest. Now it's time to look at how we use est and most adjectives in a sentence. So we begin with the subject, which here is Sylvia, the noun, or she, the subject pronoun. That's followed by the verb, is. And then we have our superlative adjective, our est and most adjective. So the tallest or the most beautiful. Okay, time for our second activity. Here you need to reorder the sentences. So you need to put the words in the correct order. And I'll give you 1 minute to do this. Okay, how did you go with that one? Let's take a look at the answers. So, the first answer, Grandpa George is the oldest. Next, Rocky is the fastest. Sylvia is the most serious. Willie is the funniest. And finally, Summer thinks autumn is the best. Okay, now we're going to move on to form. There are 4 different forms of est and most adjectives. We have the short form, which is 1 syllable. Then we have 2 syllables that ends in y. 2 or more syllables is the next form. And lastly, we have the irregular form. If you've watched our video on comparative adjectives, ER and more adjectives, you'll notice that these categories, these forms, are the same. Okay, so let's begin with form number 1, for short adjectives. So these are adjectives that have 1 syllable, old, tall. Now, if you don't know what a syllable is, I'll explain it to you. A syllable is the beat of a word. Some words have 1 beat. So, in this case, old, tall has just 1 beat. Other words have more than 1 beat. So, easy, busy, they have 2 beats. Beautiful has 3, and so on. Here, these adjectives have just 1 beat, 1 syllable. And this is what we do with them. We take the adjective and then we add est. So old becomes oldest, tall, tallest, and young, youngest. Summer is tall. Summer is the tallest. And remember, it's very important that we put the before the est adjective. Now let's take a look at the second form. So this is also for short adjectives that have 2 syllables, but the syllable, the second syllable, must end in y. So busy, pretty, And this is what we do. We take the adjective and we delete the Y. Then we add IEST. So busy becomes busiest, pretty, prettiest, and early, earliest. For example, Willie is funny. Willie is the funniest. Okay, time for form number 3. This one is for longer adjectives, so this includes syllables with 2 beats, or it can include adjectives with 3 beats or 4 beats. So for example, careful, careful, 2 beats. Beautiful, 3 beats. Interesting, 4 beats. Now, with these longer adjectives, we need to add most before the adjective. We don't change the adjective, we just add something before it. So for example, Sylvia is beautiful. Sylvia is the most beautiful. Okay, time for our final form. And this is the irregular form. Now, there are some adjectives in English that are irregular, which means they have a different pattern. They behave in a different way. So, good is a short adjective. It's 1 syllable, good. Normally, we would add est, goodest. However, this is incorrect. Instead, we need to say best. So, good becomes best. Bad, on the other hand, becomes worst. And we have a third example. Far becomes farthest. For example, Joe is good at science. Joe is the best at science. Willie is bad at maths. Willie is the worst at maths. Okay, let's jump into our third activity of the lesson. In this activity, you need to change the adjective. So, for example, old would become oldest. You have 45 seconds. Write your answers into these boxes. Okay, let's take a look at the answers. So, new becomes newest. So it's a 1 syllable word, new, so we add est. Similarly, high becomes highest, so it follows the same pattern. Now, good. Good is our 4th form, so the irregular form. Good becomes best. Okay, now we're going to do another practice. It's the same type of activity. You have 45 seconds again, and your time starts now. Ding ding, time is finished. Let's go through these answers. So, difficult becomes the most difficult. Difficult has 3 syllables, difficult, so that's why we're using most. Now we have busy, which becomes busiest. So remember the spelling rule, busy ends in Y, so we need to change the word to IEST. And lastly, bad becomes the worst. Oh, right, now it's time for our 4th and final activity of the lesson. This is quite an interesting creative activity. What you need to do is make a sentence. So you need to use these words to create a sentence that has an est or most adjective. Okay, you have 60 seconds, 1 minute. Are you ready? Let's go. How did you go with this one? Okay, the answers are Willie is the naughtiest. Grandpa George is the kindest. Summer is the coolest. And Sylvia is the best driver. To recap our lesson, we learned the meaning of est and most adjectives. We learned how to use them in a sentence and their 4 different forms. So here are the forms once again. We have 1 syllable old, which becomes oldest. 2 syllables that ends in Y, busy turns into busiest. 2 or more syllables, so here we have beautiful, that becomes the most beautiful. And then lastly, our irregular adjective, good, which turns into best. Now, if you love superlative adjectives as much as I do, then you'll want to learn more. So you can head on over to E2 School and sign up for our words, different levels. You can head on over to E2 School and do our lessons on different levels. So in level 3, you can learn how to use est and most adjectives in more detail than we looked at today. And on level 5, you can learn how to use ever with est and most adjectives. So the best ever. Well, thank you for watching and joining with me today. I wish you the greatest success with your grammar studies and the best and loveliest day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.